Imagine being 3 months into dating a woman who, at first, seemed to embody everything you wanted. She was attractive, smart, charming, and the connection felt exciting and effortless in the beginning. But gradually, the emotional atmosphere began to shift in a way you could not fully explain. She became colder, more distant, and much harder to read, while you became more uncertain, more eager to fix things, and more desperate to understand what had gone wrong. You start checking your phone more often, rereading conversations, and second-guessing every interaction. It begins to feel as though her approval has become something you are chasing, rather than naturally receiving. The main argument of the transcript is that this change is often not accidental. It suggests that many men unknowingly step into relationship dynamics without understanding the deeper psychological patterns involved, and that the behaviors they believe should strengthen attraction, being overly caring, highly available, and constantly emotionally expressive, can actually weaken it over time if they are not balanced with confidence and independence. According to the ideas in the transcript, most relationships begin to break down when the original attraction dynamic slowly gets reversed. In the early stage, the man is usually more relaxed, more self-focused, and less attached to the outcome, which creates a natural sense of confidence and mystery. He has his own goals, his own routine, and his own direction, and because of that, his attention feels valuable. However, once he becomes more emotionally invested, he often starts shifting his energy. He seeks more reassurance, makes her the center of his emotional world, and starts prioritizing her needs above his own purpose and structure. As this happens, the woman may begin to pull back, become more critical, or act less nurturing. The transcript frames this as a role reversal, in which the man moves into a more emotionally dependent position, while the woman assumes the more detached and dominant role. It argues that this reversal damages attraction because what initially drew her in his stability, independence, and grounded presence begins to disappear under the weight of his need for validation and closeness. One of the strongest points made in the transcript is the importance of signaling that you are already comfortable around women of her caliber. This idea is tied to the concept of pre-selection, which suggests that women often judge a man's value partly by how desired he appears to be by other women. In other words, if you behave as though her beauty or attention is something rare and overwhelming to you, you unintentionally communicate that you are not accustomed to that level of female interest. The transcript says this shows up in subtle but powerful ways: your voice, your body language, and your general attitude. A calm tone, controlled energy, and measured speech suggest confidence and familiarity, while excessive enthusiasm, nervousness, and over-explaining signal insecurity. The same applies physically. If you rush touch, constantly seek closeness, or act overly eager to impress, you communicate scarcity. By contrast, when you remain composed, relaxed, and selective, you give the impression that you are not easily shaken by beauty or attention. The overall message is that attraction tends to grow when a man behaves as though he already knows his own worth, rather than asking a woman to confirm it for him. The transcript also places heavy emphasis on the danger of emotionally centering your entire dating life around one woman too early. It argues that when a man focuses exclusively on one woman from the start, he often becomes too dependent on her responses, her attention, and her availability. From this perspective, having no alternatives makes a man unconsciously act from fear of losing her, fear of saying the wrong thing, and fear of not being enough. The transcript presents dating multiple women in the early stage as a way to avoid this scarcity mindset, rather than as an act of dishonesty or cruelty. The reasoning is that when a woman senses she is your only romantic option, she may begin to feel less urgency and less curiosity, whereas knowing that your attention is in demand can increase your perceived value. This creates what the speaker describes as a competition effect, where she is more likely to invest, respond quickly, and maintain better behavior because she knows she is not automatically entitled to your full focus. The broader argument is that exclusivity should not be rushed. It should be something earned through consistency, effort, and mutual investment, not handed over immediately out of emotional excitement. Another major theme running through the transcript is emotional detachment, or more specifically, emotional self-control. The speaker argues that men lose power in relationships the moment their internal state becomes dependent on a woman's mood, approval, or behaviour. If she becomes distant and you panic, if she ignores you and you chase, or if she speaks to another man and you react emotionally, you reveal that your sense of security is tied to what she does. According to this view, that gives away your power. Instead, the transcript recommends a very different posture. Remain focused on your own life, your own mission, and your own direction regardless of what she is doing. Do not let her inconsistency pull you into emotional chaos. Do not chase after coldness, and do not try to force reassurance or control the situation. The point is not to be cruel, numb, or uncaring, but to be so stable within yourself that her actions do not dictate your emotional condition. In the worldview of the transcript, this kind of emotional neutrality is deeply attractive because it communicates strength, discipline, and self-possession qualities that cannot be easily manipulated. The transcript goes further by arguing that women are often drawn not simply to men who are complete and perfect, but to men in whom they can emotionally invest. It claims that many women do not want to feel useless in a man's life. They want to feel that their presence matters, that their influence has weight, and that their effort helps shape the relationship. This is where the idea of investment justification comes in. When someone gives time, energy, emotional labour, or care to another person, they often become more attached because they need to believe that their investment is worthwhile. The transcript uses this to explain why some women are more attracted to men they feel they can influence, improve, or help guide than to men who seem totally self-contained and already perfected. The suggested strategy is not to become weak, unstable, or directionless, but rather to avoid presenting yourself as a completely closed system with no room for her contribution. A man can still be successful, strong, and valuable, while leaving emotional room for a woman to feel useful, impactful, and connected. In that sense, attraction is portrayed not just as admiration, but as a process of emotional investment. A central claim throughout the transcript is that attraction often works more through emotion than logic. Many behaviours that sound ideal on paper, constant consistency, instant reassurance, total predictability, and unwavering availability may seem like signs of a good long-term partner, but the speaker argues that they can reduce emotional intensity and mystery. On the other hand, a man who has his own life, who is not always instantly available, and who does not constantly seek to please, creates a stronger emotional response. The transcript suggests that women are often kept engaged by a sense of uncertainty and stimulation rather than by complete emotional safety at every moment. This is why, according to the speaker, being too easy to access or too eager to please can quietly lower attraction. When there is no challenge, no tension, and no unpredictability, interest can fade into comfort and then into boredom. By contrast, when a man has opinions of his own, remains somewhat unpredictable, and does not shape himself around her every preference, he becomes more mentally and emotionally compelling. The transcript frames this as understanding how attraction feels rather than how it should logically work. In the end, the larger message of the transcript is that lasting attraction depends on a man maintaining emotional independence, self-respect, and a life that does not revolve entirely around a woman. It argues that a man should care, but never from a place of desperation. He should love, but not in a way that makes his self-worth dependent on being chosen. He should be present in the relationship while still remaining anchored in his own goals, standards, and emotional stability. The speaker insists that many men lose attraction not because they are too kind, but because they become too dependent, too available, and too easily shaken. The solution presented is to remain grounded in yourself, to protect your emotional state, and to avoid making any woman the centre of your identity. In that framework, respect and desire are not created by begging for love or overproving your value, but by living in a way that makes your time, attention, and presence meaningful. Whether or not one agrees with every point, the core argument is clear. Attraction grows most easily when a man remains strong within himself, emotionally steady, and fully connected to his own purpose.